Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Bar Rescue After Show.
If you get in trouble.
That's right. When you get in trouble, you call John Taffer. I am not Kevin Undergaro. I am not Mia, but I am Phil Svitek. And for those of you who have been part of the AfterBuzz Bar Rescue family, you guys hopefully know me well. I get the privilege and honor of sort of doing the recap for the full season. Not quite, but regardless, it's the Back to the Bar episode with John Taffer on Bar Rescue, and I'm here to dissect it. We have Stephen Lemieux in the booth. Welcome, Stephen Lemieux.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Another fan favorite, if you will, here on the Bar Rescue After Show. And then, I do want to say, we're back October 4th. Bar Rescue is back October 4th. We're going on a little bit of hiatus in terms of the actual show. Therefore, in kind of succession of that, the Bar Rescue After Show goes on hiatus. But the show itself, and we will be back October 4th, so definitely tune back in then. But let's get into this episode, starting off with Dimples. This is one of those stories that it's located in Los Angeles. It's very near to our studio, and I've been by the place multiple times. And overall, just a sad story. Just a sad story for many reasons. Number one, the fact that it has that huge history being the first karaoke bar in the nation. Number two, the fact that it in general has been open for more than 30 years. I mean, that in itself is quite impressive. And, some might look at that as a success in and of its own, but obviously towards the later years, there is a reason why Bar Rescue was called into action, and specifically John. And then, it's in terms of Hollywood, in terms of LA, everyone, I feel like, knows about Dimples, and so from a more personal perspective, this is a very sad story, because obviously it doesn't end well. And to my knowledge, unless Steven, you can correct me, right now there still is no plans of a new Dimples.
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, I'll tell you, after Bar Rescue came to Dimples, I went in there and I actually visited on a Friday night, and it was pretty just like in the episode, there was not too many people there, and they were charging a $5 cover, which is ridiculous for what it was. And then this was not a month after Bar Rescue aired, and there was already just all the stuff was back in. They were back to using 8-tracks. They weren't using the karaoke machine that John put in when I went there after the Bar Rescue. So seeing that in this episode, I was actually kind of surprised. And the sound system sounded just as bad as always. It seemed like they just were refusing to use it for a while. Maybe they brought it back and started using it after they got some complaints, but yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, typically from the karaoke bars that I know, your cover is basically, by the way, I hear you a little typing.
Sorry.
Typically, I hear the cover for a karaoke bar, from my experience, is basically just a 1-drink minimum, right? You want to get up on stage, you got to buy a drink. I 100% agree with John, and also just in general, the customers, that Sal is just an weirdly pervy guy, and that doesn't fly. It just doesn't, and the fact that he's so blind to it is, number one, very upsetting. Number two, it's quite unfortunate, because he could be making so much more money. And to John's point, well, not even to John's point, because it's something that I was able to recognize on my own. Number one, I hate clutter to begin with, and number two, when I see that amount of clutter everywhere, I mean, there was a portion that they showed where it seemed like it was very tough for even the waitress or whoever to sort of walk through towards the customer. And that's not, I understand, like, behind the bar, it can get cramped, and when you have multiple people, and space there is always going to be an issue. But when you're talking about customers in general, you should be able to get to them. Now, it's one thing if, let's say, that entire place is filled with customers, then yeah, you might have some trouble maneuvering in and out of various people. But this was, I think they showed 12 people in general that were there, so it's not at a capacity, and so I'm very disappointed with the fact that Sal couldn't see that this was literally causing traffic jams.
It's just sad in general, but at the same time, I mean, what Sal wanted was not a retirement. He just wanted to keep doing what he's doing. So he wasted away his retirement fund in the bar by not making any money, but would he have been happy making money in the bar and not doing what he loves to do? Probably not. So I think he just kind of decided, you know what, I just want to keep doing what I want to do and what I've been doing for 30, 40 years. So he just kept doing it and led to the bar failing.
Yeah, I mean, it's an unfortunate thing, but eventually the party stops, and it's an unfortunate turn of events that it stopped the way it did. It's being bought out, and from my knowledge, I think it's like a Whole Food type store or something. I'm not 100% sure on that. But as John says, he could have been in a much better situation had he gone with John's tips instead of going back to the way that things were.
It's just when you have a property that's large like that and somebody comes in and buys the property that contains that and a few other stores or whatever, the owner is going to look at the profits those businesses are making, and they're going to decide, okay, is it worth it for me to keep these open, or is it worth it for me to build something else on the land that will pay the rent? And based on the episode of Bar Rescue covering Dimples, Sal could no longer pay the rent based on what they were making, and it just doesn't make sense for the landowner to keep renting out to people who won't be able to pay him.
Yeah, I agree. And so overall, as John said, the jury's out on this one. Anything else you'd like to add about Dimples?
The dude is just as creepy in person as he appears on the show.
Did he hit on you?
No, but literally you go with any females and that's how it is. It's literally straight, just like that.
It just, it's sad to see. I mean, just in general, that there should be a certain amount of checks and balances. I don't. Even if there is a strong leader, a strong leader to me takes the acknowledgement of his employees and kind of how they're the ones who have their nose to the grindstone, their ear to the pavement, sort of thing. And if and it also, you need that environment where employees can kind of speak out about the various things and call you out in a politeful way, of course, of like, hey, you know what, the customers they're not liking the sort of interaction you're doing with them. And so, but obviously not the place. It's quite unfortunate. So Dimples, no more. As of right now. If it comes back in its own reincarnation, we'll see. But I highly, highly doubt it. Even though he says, we'll keep looking no matter what. All right. Then we go to the Oasis Bar, which obviously was transformed into Tazah. The nightclub, but not so much. Now it's a hookah nightclub. And I know for those of you who love the Bar Rescue after show, I know when we did it initially, there was a lot of heated debate, from what I remember, about hookah in general. And Steven, what was your recollection of that episode? Because you heavily were contesting for hookah.
I don't know if I was contesting for hookah. I was saying that it is a fun thing to do, and it's nice if you do it right, it's well, but this place did not seem like it was doing it the right way. People don't want to go...
Well, they were doing it the right way now.
Not even, no.
What does that mean? They got the stamp of approval from Hookah John.
They got the stamp of approval from Hookah John, and that they're doing the hookahs well, but as a concept of a place, it didn't really work that well, if that makes sense. You have to really look at the demographic, and the reason hookah works so well in LA is there's so many people, and there's so many people who like doing that. But if you're going to, where was this place again, Phil? Omaha. It's like a cool thing for college kids, but you're not going to be getting a lot of the adult crowds wanting to go for hookah, because either people out there who like it are probably going to buy their own hookah. They're not going to go out. They're just going to buy their own thing and smoke it in their home, or not. Plus, I don't really like drinking alcohol when you smoke hookah, because it kind of makes you lightheaded, and then drinking alcohol, if you drink too much, mix that with the lightheadedness you get from the hookah, you can get nauseous, and it just isn't a fun time. So, yeah, it's just not the best concept, especially for their demographic there.
Yeah, to me, it's the equivalent of opening up a pirate bar in a business sector. Yes, you're the only one in that sector that has a pirate bar, and you guys hopefully know what I'm referencing, but that doesn't mean it's a good idea, just because you're the only one doing it. And as John says, 70% of the time, if you're the only one doing something and there's no competition, it's probably because it's not worth pursuing, which I can understand. I actually can, and I'm behind it. So, in terms of this, was the fact that his own staff was saying, hey, we should have given the nightclub a greater chance, and then you had the whole mixing of under 21-year-olds. It's not fun. I liked our girl from the Recon, how she was saying, she didn't want to get up on the dance floor and then find out that the guy that she was potentially grinding up on was 18 years old. Obviously still an adult, but just certainly not to her standards, which I understand.
I think there's a time and a place for that. It's like, I think guys are more fine with that than girls are,
What does that mean?
Guys, if they're at a club and randomly it's an 18-year-old instead of a 21 or 22-year-old, they're not going to care as much. Women are a little bit weirder about that, but usually you want to find somebody you can actually have a drink with. I don't know. It's just weird. It's just not. If you look at the science behind it, John goes on to the science in every episode where they have something like this, where they have an 18 and up. It's just too much of a liability. It's too much of a liability to have alcohol and 18-year-olds in the same building, because it's not worth it. And they're doing black X's. All you do is put some Elmer's glue on your hand, get the black X on your hand, then you go in the bathroom, peel it off, and then you're fine. So, yeah.
Well, you do have the wristband as a backup, but again, it's just what stops it is, some guy is approached by a group of girls, and they're like, hey, would you mind getting us a drink? And the guy gets drinks, and then all of a sudden he's serving it to them. And so although it's not the bar, it's the guy, and I don't know what the full rules in terms of law that constitute under. Is it, does he get in trouble as well? I imagine he would, but it's also obviously the bar is at fault for that. So it's just not good. Don't do it. And everyone was telling him, like, and this seems to be a common thing that you should know if you're a bar owner. Liquor makes you a lot of money, plain and simple. And so if that's your moneymaker, that's what you should be driving people to do. And, people are trying to dance in a smoke-filled room. Not a lot of fun. So it's doing okay, but it could obviously be doing a lot better. And Jesse's arrogance, I just didn't like it. So that's my thoughts on that. Steven, anything to add?
Nope.
All right. Before we continue, just want to give you an update about AfterBuzz. We have some cool promos for you guys. If you're into fantasy football, you can give it a free try at DraftKings.com and type in the promo code where you get you get to try it for the first week. You'll be entered to win the grand prize, which is $2 million. And what it is, if you haven't heard about DraftKings, number one, I think you're living under a rock, but or you're just a very busy person. So let's assume that you're a busy person. It's the biggest fantasy football contest ever. that they, instead of doing season-long commitments, they do it game day by game day, and it's just overall easier and more fun. When you pick a team for fantasy sports, and you have to do it for an entire season, you get so many injuries and this and that. And from my experience, before you know it, you're 2 weeks in, and you're like, I got a crap team, and now it's no fun. But with DraftKings, every week is a new week. So go to DraftKings.com and use the promo code BUZZ, B-U-Z-Z, and try it out for free. That's right. And be entered into the grand prize contest, $2 million in week 1. That sounds very exciting. All right, so then we go over to what is actually a good bar, 22 Clicks. The owner is Todd. He had some issues in his episode with sort of dealing with authority, being told that he wasn't successful. But now he's really turned that around and making about $45,000 a month overall. And he passed health inspection, and he also passed the quote-unquote recon spies sort of test. So overall doing well here. And on a Wednesday night at 7 p.m. had 72 customers. Steven, do you remember this episode?
Vaguely remember it, but I do remember the big tank, and I thought it was a really cool remodel when they did it.
Yeah, I give him a lot of credit the way he interacted with customers, and as John pointed out, the fact that he had both kind of active military people as well as veterans. It was a nice mix, and he really stuck to that concept, and obviously it's working. I mean, 72 people on a Wednesday at 7 p.m. is nothing to sneeze at. Certainly this is the third bar of this episode. Certainly blows the other bars out of the water.
It just means that people are using it for the concept John wanted. It's a hangout spot.
Yeah.
It's a place that people can go and they feel welcome. They know they're going to meet other soldiers and veterans there, and it's something everyone has in common. So even if they have Saturday nights where they don't have that many people, if they can keep a consistent base throughout the week where people are just going to have a drink with their friends and hang out and not get like totally like 4 drinks or 5 drinks, even if they just get that regular crowd of 1 drink a day, they're going to be doing pretty well.
Yeah, and the food with the gator bites were good. They were fully cooked this time, so overall it's firing on all cylinders, and they got the 95 for the inspection. So I think Todd deserves it, and I'm very happy for him. So I'm glad to see it's doing well, and I'm glad to see that in general, people are taking these concepts and really running with them and doing their own thing and being successful. Now, doing your own thing doesn't mean what Tazah's doing, where you're back to the hookah, but again, just elevating what the core of it was. So, all right, then we get to our friend over at Hen Hunters. This was quite an episode when we covered it.
This is like an episode of intervention within Bar Rescue.
Yes, this was quite an interesting way, because obviously the bar had closed, so we couldn't really catch up with the bar. So it was a matter of, catching up with the employees and seeing where they're at. And just overall sad, how they've kind of been dealt with, how they were treated. And, you have one of them being owed $8,000. Chloe, on the other hand, she didn't name a price in terms of how much she was owed, but just in general, she was not paid at all. And very sad to hear that, they made the decision when John was there for the rescue of, hey, I want to rescue this bar for you guys. Do you want me to go ahead and do that? They said yes. Now, not because of John's, doing by any means, but they just said, maybe we should have said no. So it's tough. It was tough to see. And what did you think? I thought he was very much a weasel. I thought the way he answered all the questions, quoting during the quote-unquote interview portion when they arrived at his house, was very interesting. He was all about, hi, I saw you on Facebook. You're doing well, and you're doing well. And okay, so you want my okay, but how's life going? Just very avoiding the issue.
Yeah, he's just a piece of... he's a weasel, yeah. I think it's just some people just can't accept reality. They won't look in the mirror and say, I'm a failure. And that guy just really needed to.
Well, it's just, I mean, I would like him to at least start with one thing in the sense of look in the mirror. Nobody wants to say that they're a bad person, but look in the mirror and say, okay, you know what? I might not be a bad, but I'm certainly not a good person. Okay? Start with that. You're not a good person. And so if you're not a good person, well, what do you have to do to become a good person? Paying your employees, probably a start. So, it's just sad, and I think he's absolutely illusioned if he thinks that that an investor will come in and give money towards another bar. I mean, this guy's shown nothing. He can't run a bar. He's talk about liabilities, right? We talked about liabilities with the Oasis Bar. This guy's on a business level. This guy is a huge liability. You can't have him run a bar. You'd be the world's stupidest owner. And especially now with Bar, I'm glad because of Bar Rescue kind of, has names out there. And so for any potential investor, all you have to do is kind of do, 2-minute Google search and find out everything that's on this guy, and you'll be blown away. And hopefully that deters you from giving this guy even $1. Your thoughts, Steven?
Yeah, I mean, word travels fast in the industry. It's kind of amazing to actually just talk to people around here who are bartenders or whatever who have met John Taffer, who have met people from Bar Rescue, who go to these conventions and meet other people from this industry. And yeah, I think word travels fast in this industry, and people know who not to work with. And I don't think he couldn't have a successful bar in the first place. I really doubt he could even try to have a successful bar in the next place. But people do always want jobs, so you never know who will get tangled into that mess.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I can't say it with full. He's just a sleazy guy, and in the nicest way I can say, I'm really worried about his current job in the sense of how much he may or may not be actually hurting people. That's full speculation on my part, but nonetheless, it is a concern of mine. So, there you have it. That's catching up with Bar Rescue. What bars, real quick, Steve, what bars would you have liked to see kind of profile that we didn't? Obviously, because we only got 4.
I can't really think of any off the top of my head that I'd really want to go back to yet, because most of them that are fresh in my mind are from this season. But, I mean, I think we did get a Back to the Bar 4 episodes ago, which went over a lot of them too. So I think they're doing a good job splitting these up into keeping track of what was going on. I think last time the Back to the Bar was a lot more uplifting, and this one was more with the delusional owners and things like that. So I think they're doing a good job with the Back to the Bar so far.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there's a sense where, the successful bars aren't as fun TV-wise, let's say, to kind of go back to. But obviously 22 Clicks, they were able to, quote-unquote, create some drama with the health inspector and so on. But I do like seeing good people be rewarded, right? So if they've been rescued, if they're following kind of the path. For me, the 4 sisters from San Francisco, I would like to see in that one, just as a quick update, I think they're an amazing story in general, but I get it, these guys may make better TV, unfortunately. So anyway, that's it for us here. Also, before I fully wrap up, another thing that we're doing here as an AfterBuzz. If you are in need of a great mattress, we're doing a promo with Casper Mattresses. It's an online premium retailer of mattresses, and what they've done is they've cut out the middleman, and you deal directly with them, no showrooms and so on. And by doing it that way, you cut a lot of the cost. And because when you go to a showroom and you can try out a bed, it doesn't really give you the sense of how the bed ultimately is going to be for you to sleep on. Night in. Every night for, potentially 8 hours a night. And so what these guys do, what Casper does is they've significantly lowered the cost. You can get a mattress. Steve, what's the official price? As low as $550 for a twin? I believe. But I mean, the king size mattress I know is $950. So they're relatively very, very cheap, especially in comparison to other mattress prices, and it's a latex foam type technology that's been engineered so it remembers you. And the best part is you just buy it, and if after 100 days you actually don't like it, you just you return it, hassle free, no questions asked. And if you go to casper.com/afterbuzz, you get $50 off your purchase of a mattress. So be sure to check them out. Thank you guys for joining us on Bar Rescue. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we'll be back October 4th, which is when the actual Spike Bar Rescue show will be back, which is a Sunday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you guys for joining us. On behalf of @TallMia, @Undergaro, and of course @John Taffer, who is the host of the Bar Rescue show. Thank you guys for being such loyal fans of Bar Rescue, the Bar Rescue After Show, and of course, AfterBuzz TV. We'll see you October 4th. Until then, have a good time.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.